All right, so well, let's use this as a point to jump to the next story.
Oh, yeah.
So this is something I was talking about earlier. It's from the Daily Mail. Democratic representatives write to cable companies, including AT&T and Comcast, and streamers, Amazon and Hulu, demanding they drop Fox News, OAN, and Newsmax over misinformation. I did want to jump into this. Like, we're coming off the other segment, but we did that whole spiel with the Coca-Cola thing. But this is interesting to me because basically we can see like Disney claiming Muppets are racist and all that stuff. So let me get this straight. Disney is allowed to literally run a show of racist Muppets, but Tucker Carlson should be pulled off the air? That's basically what they're saying when Democrats write to these cable companies to remove conservative news channels. Also, I mean, the ramifications of this is the government, agents of the government, trying to force private companies into shutting down their political rivals.
To be fair, Tucker Carlson kind of looks like one of the Muppets. I forgot which one, but there's like a news reporter one. But he does.
Oh, he's kind of
It's a compliment.
cute.
Also,
like a
another
Labrador.
thing, they're going after Fox News for spreading misinformation and, quote, conspiracy theories. I mean, these are from Democratic Congress members calling for CEOs of TV companies and internet providers to take down another news channel that doesn't subscribe to the same notions. Now, I don't like Fox. I made a shirt against Fox, even myself, even CNN with the toilet and everything. I don't like any of these kind of partisan networks, but the bigger kind of understanding here is if these people are going to take them down for misinformation and conspiracy theories, they have to take themselves down at the same time.
I thought of a funny joke.
Did you?
So we were just talking about in the previous segment, like, what are white people good at? And then you mentioned some people said oppression. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you see, they only steal that from China, right? So we're looking at the story, and I'm thinking about these Democrats trying to get news banned, and I'm like, man, maybe they really are good at oppressing. Wait a minute. What they're doing is a ripoff of what China already did. And then I thought it's another funny joke because then the other stereotype about white people that you get from the progressives is that they steal culture. Mm-hmm. So maybe right now the Democrats are really good at stealing the authoritarianism from these despotic nations.
Hey,
and now there you go. Hey,
it's an idea. That is an idea. I mean, look, I think China was very good at banning basically all media that didn't agree with the government. So and they're like right ahead of us. You know? They are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just these white progressives are just not good at oppression.
No,
they're trying though.
Is this cultural appropriation then?
I think
Are they
so.
appropriating?
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I mean,
Culturally. They should stop.
They should.
It
They
is.
really
should. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is racist for them to try and shut down opinions of those they don't like.
Exactly.
Because they're just ripping off China.
There you go. Take note, liberals. Take note.
What is this? What does this look, Ian? Stroking your beard.
I'm taking it all in.
There's a lot.
Look, this is. I wonder to what degree this is a violation of the First Amendment. For
What, trying to shut down other news
yeah,
channels?
well, what these Democrats are doing, they're agents of government, and they're going and trying to get political views taken off. They're not going to these channels. They're literally going to the providers and saying, why are you still hosting them? This misinformation, these lies. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that makes me pessimistic. It makes me feel like we're headed towards absurdity.
It's like you've got
authoritarianism.
They're doing too much. These politicians. It's if you're driving down the road on a freeway, you don't need to be turning left and right, and it's like we got people in jobs that don't need to be there anymore or something. They don't need to change it. You
know what? You've talked about this before, Ian, that like maybe we don't need these politicians anymore. You mentioned like less politicians and like different branches and stuff like that. I'm wondering if, why do they make new laws? You know what I mean? They're constantly making new laws. When do they get rid of old ones?
Well, that's the thing is like, so with this whole lockdown stuff, and this is totally an aside, but it goes to what you said. I always think like governments are really good at stomping on your freedoms. How often do they give them back? So it's like when they legislate, it's like you said, like for every, and I think that was Trump's thing, for every how many laws were passed, however many were repealed. And I think that, or, all this red tape was cut. And I think that you're right. Like they're always passing new laws, but it's like, for what? What are you doing actually day to day that is necessary that needs to be done? It's more regulation most of the time.
Taking your guns away.
Yes.
They're getting there. They're trying.
So
they did it in Australia.
Oh, they did.
And then after they took away the firearms in Australia, the Australian government locked down and clamped down on its citizenry more than almost any government out there, especially when it came to the COVID restrictions. And it was it still is absurd to see what they're able to get away with over there.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So Aussies and I think, have just a fundamental disagreement. Some Aussies and I have a fundamental disagreement when it comes to this. This is part of why I left. Because my frustration was like, I'm watching America, which, mind you, I know that a lot of Americans think that America is just rightly screwed right now. To some extent, maybe. But you still have a constitution and a Bill of Rights and a bunch of stuff that protects you. Australians, not so much. We don't have freedom of speech. That's an implied thing in our constitution. We don't have a Bill of Rights. We have 5 rights in our constitution, and they're things like freedom of religion and, you can move between states and things like that. So watching what was going down with all the lockdown stuff, having no guns, yada, 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 it was honestly really, I'm here in the US and I'm thinking, I'm so lucky to live in a country where I can actually just basically be like, you know what, nah, and do what I want. I think that that's great. Even living in Texas, you can just buy a billion guns.
In Australia, there was people who organized protests on Facebook and literally had police officers break down their front door when they were having dinners with their family, with children there, and arrested and took them away from their children for organizing a protest.
Oh, yeah. That was one. There was a pregnant girl. That's one I believe you're talking about. Yeah,
there's a number of them.
Yeah. It's funny because one of my very good friends back home, his name is Avi, and he's a journalist for Rebel News. He's been arrested several times now, even though he has press credentials from the government to be, at these protests and things. And he has been arrested. He's been chucked in the back of the divvy van or the police van thingy. And they really target the journalists now. They arrested one, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago. They arrested another young journalist and her photographer from the Herald Sun, which is another Melbourne newspaper. And the thing that really distresses me watching this, like, again, from a country where I can basically do a lot of things that I can't do back home, is they just snap their fingers and go, okay, we're having another lockdown now, 5-day lockdown, everyone like stay in your home, can't go outside, can't do this, can't do that. And Australians just go, okay, yes, daddy government, yes, I'll do the thing, okay, yep. And it makes me want to throw up because I think, where is your sense of freedom? Where's your sense of self-preservation? It's not, they think that the government will answer all of their hopes and dreams and questions when in reality, the government is actually just stomping on you.
Mm-hmm. The first 15 days, we all basically agreed.
Exactly. Everyone was on board.
15 days.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Slow the spread.
Yeah. And we were all like, yeah, that makes sense. But then when they extended it, we still agreed. We were like, all right, let's slow this thing down. We're all in this together, right? Mm-hmm. And then after I think the first year, like where we're at now, everyone's kind of like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
You look at we're looking at global food shortages. We're looking at massive poverty, and it feels like they're just destroying everything on purpose because they don't care. They don't care that lives are being ruined. They don't care.
How many politicians took a pay, had a decrease in pay during this time? How many politicians didn't get paid?
I think they all got paid.
The premier of, in Victoria, so where I'm from, the premier of my home state gave himself a pay raise during the pandemic after he locked down Victorians for the longest period, I'm pretty sure, in the entire world. And then I want to call him the C word, but I'm not going to say it. But then he goes and gives him, and I nearly slipped out. I was like, oh, Sydney, no. He goes and gives himself a pay raise. How many of these people, and even in the US, how many of them have taken a pay cut?
Well,
how many of them have not gotten paid?
Andrew Cuomo got a raise.
He's working very hard.
Oh, yeah.
For these people. He deserves more money.
Daily press conferences, lying to you, giving you his little smile. He's
No.
a sociopath.
They're not lies. They're comforting distortions. He's trying to just avert panic and make everyone feel good.
Oh, and it does. They feel really, you know what? The thing is, if you value security more than freedom, I don't know what to tell you.
And it's not misinformation. It's comfortable news. Comfortable. Comfort.
This guy is you guys should go look him up. You'll have a field day, especially Tim.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't live in Australia because where is it? Like Victoria? Is that is it called a state or is it a province or what is it?
State. Yeah, we have states and territories. Yeah.
And that's where they basically put everybody in like home jail, home arrest or whatever.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Again, Aussies, look, I love Australians, but sometimes, they get on me and they're like, you're so mean. Why are you so mean about Australia? And I'm like, I don't know, because you got no freedom. I don't know.
So wait, you're half American though, right?
Yeah.
So that's a thing. You're a day walker. You understand it seems like you've got the best, you inherited the best of both sides, like the ability to fight giant tarantulas and like kangaroos while understanding the importance of freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the craziest thing to me is that you could have Australia, which is the stereotypical death trap country of like giant spiders and birds. I watched this video where there's a super jacked kangaroo banging on some guy's window. You saw that one?
Yeah.
And he's like, "What's?" And I this Australian guy I knew said like they could gut you. They could like their huge claws slash you. I'm like, how do you grow up in a place where I watched one video where these people are like drinking at an outdoor patio and a kangaroo just like stomps through?
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe that's actually what it is. They're scared of everything. And so when the government comes in, they're like, please help us from the giant mean monsters. And so they hide. They hide.
Look, I grew up in the country, so we're always around roos and stuff. They are very aggressive. People need to understand, don't chase them. Do not corner them. You're going to get your little face ripped off. They've got
They're
these little
ripped,
creepy...
right? You see them like flex.
Oh, yeah,
like,
they're jacked.
super
I think it's
ripped.
bigger than this, Tim. I think it's the Queen. She has to be responsible for our...
You're right, Luke.
Yeah,
I keep thinking about this.
Look, Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, toughest, strictest lockdowns, all of them colonies of the Queen.
Yeah, it's all the Commonwealth stuff, isn't it? Yeah. No, I mean, that's actually, I wonder, because I know that I don't, that was not a nonsensical sentence. you also have to look at New Zealand too, because they have been like, I love it when people are like, New Zealand's dealing with this so well. New Zealand's an island in the middle of the Pacific with nothing around it except other ocean.
And a very small population.
Isn't it
Tiny population.
Isn't it 2,000 miles from Australia?
I don't know in terms of proximity. It's like a 3-hour plane ride to get to New Zealand.
That sounds like about 2,000 miles.
Well, if you look in the United Kingdom, I mean, even their lockdowns are absolutely absurd and
They
very
make no
oddly,
sense.
it doesn't make many sense on many different levels because if you look at the numbers, you compare it to Sweden. The numbers are going down the same way. They're even going down even more, according to some estimates, in Sweden, where the lockdowns were restricted by and large, not fully, but by and large, compared to the United Kingdom that fully locked down, and of course has their police officers sending out notices that they will no longer be responding to burglaries, but they spent taxpayer money on billboard buses telling you that being offensive is a criminal offense.
Oh, you know, the UK is just... Oh god, it's
Insane.
beautiful. It's one of these beautiful prisons.
Yeah.
It's Australia is a beautiful prison. Aussies, don't yell at me for saying that. Love you. It is a bit of a prison. Bloody, you know.
Gulag, I think is a better
the
term.
UK, yeah, they're beautiful, but they're prisons. Because like, you know, these are countries that arrest people. Not Australia so much. They do it a little bit, but not that much. But they arrest people for things they post online, and it's like,
It's ridiculous.
oh my god.
2,583.3 miles,
Yeah.
New Zealand to Australia. I just think that's relevant because people think Australia and New Zealand are very close to each other.
No, it's
It's super far
sizable,
away.
Yeah, definitely sizable. Gap.
And I think New Zealand has like 4 million people.
5 million, I think.
5 million?
Yeah.
When I went to New Zealand, they asked me why I was there, and I was going there to interview this guy, Gareth Morgan, and they all knew who he was. So when I was at like the immigration checkpoint, they were like, "What you here for?" I'm like, "I'm here with Vice Magazine. We're gonna interview this guy." And they're like, "Who is it?" And I was like, "His name's Gareth Morgan." "Oh, I know him." And I was like, "You do?" And they're like, "There's not that many people in this country, man. It's like everybody knows. If someone here is famous, everybody knows who it is."
I was expecting you to do an accent.
It sounded like you were going there.
I was gearing up. I was like, "Oh, Tim, oh,
I almost
yes."
did.
Don't
I almost
do it.
went for it.
You know,
Well,
it's a tough one.
It's I used to do a really good New Zealand accent, but I've got to hear it first, and it's been too long, so I wouldn't get
I'm
it.
unable to
dipped your
help
toes
you.
in.
Dip my
My
toes in a little
accent
bit.
is jacked.
You have a daywalker accent.
My accent is just an absolute mess. And honestly, it depends who I'm around too. Because if I'm around a bunch of Yanks, I feel like my accent gets much more American. When I'm
Yanks.
around other, Yanks. You guys are Yanks, all of you. Like no matter where you're from, you're all Yanks. But when I talk to if I call home and I'm talking to like my dad, who is very Australian, he's from Perth, so his accent is just like off the planet. But if I like call home or something, people are like, "Oh, you're using your own terminology again." I'm like, "Yeah, my accent sucks. It's don't ask. I don't know."
Great.
Did you live in the U.S. forever
No,
before?
no. I'm just, it's funny when people are like, "So, are you putting this on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying to do both accents badly." That's yep.
Yeah.
You got it.
Your mom was American?
My mom's American.
Okay,
Yeah.
but moved over there.
Yep. Fell in love with my dad.
Are
He just
you
sprinkled some
dual
Aussie charm.
citizenship?
Yep.
So, I mean, I got questions about the British monarchy. Growing up, were you like
The Queen.
were you aware that you lived under the rule of a queen? You said she was the head of state.
Yeah, she's our head of
but
state.
it's very like subversive. You don't know. You're kind of led to believe that you live in a free state.
Yeah. When I became aware of the fact that, because obviously, like when you're at school, you learn about Aussie history. You don't learn about British history. You learn about Aussie history. You learn about Federation or blah 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 blah. Like when the first fleet landed in Australia and colonized, yada yada. We learn about all of that. I didn't know probably until I was actually maybe in my late teens that we weren't a republic. Because I remember we studied stuff at school and I was like, oh, well, I would probably vote to have us be a republic. And I had friends who were like, no, I want to be, we need the monarchy still. And that's actually a whole argument, is a lot of conservatives in Australia are like, we need to still be part of, or at least have the monarchy as like our head of state, so to speak, even though it's the Queen. She gives royal assent on all of our legislation that gets passed. So, I mean, it's more of a ceremonial thing, but it's still active, I guess.
Like she controls the military. And so is she the one ordering these lockdowns?
No.
But she's not saying no to them. She's assenting to them.
What if there's like a secret conspiracy where the Queen actually is giving instructions to her subjects?
And she's actually controlling New Zealand and Australia.
Well, I think it's funny to call it a conspiracy when she's literally the Queen,
the monarch,
the head of state
yeah.
for these
the
for these
sole
countries.
God-given leader of the country.
By divine providence,
the Commonwealth.
she is Queen of the Britons. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.